Hey guys, welcome back to another episode in the Kotlin series. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you guys about class constructors. Alright guys, welcome back. So last episode, we dived into what classes are, and it basically just as a little refresher here, a class is basically a blueprint for a custom data type that combines both properties or data and also behavior or class functions. With what we learned last time, we learned that we could have these class properties, but we have to give them default values because we don't know any other way to initialize them because a variable must be initialized, right? Constructors will allow us to overcome that. We're going to learn how to pass in data dynamically to our classes when we instantiate them into objects, okay? We're going to start by making something called a primary constructor, which is just the main constructor to be able to create an object of this class. So inside of this, you kind of want to decide what things do you want to force someone to pass in when making a car. What does a car need to be required? If you don't pass in these things, a car cannot be created. So we can argue that the make, the model, and the year are required for making a car, and then the speed could be just always 0 by default. So for example, what we can do is create this opening and closing parentheses after the name. So we could do something like var make, which is a string, and then we could add on to that, just like we would do with a function definition. So we could do var model, which is another string, and then we could do something like var year, which would be an int, like that. And here we go. So now we have changed our car class to have a primary constructor, which takes in a make string, a model string, and a year int. And then we move the properties from here in the class body inside the code block here to the actual primary constructor, because if you have it there, they will be automatically placed as properties into your class, okay? So I think this will make a lot more sense if I just show you how you can actually use this now. So if we go back to our main class here, we can see that we have a little red underline here that says no value passed in for parameter make, model, and year. So like I said before, now when we create our car, we have to pass in that information for the car to be created successfully. So you can kind of imagine this as a function call, because if you have a function that has parameters inside of it, you have to pass those parameters in to be able to call the function. So same thing when we're instantiating this class, okay? You can do Control P to see what we need to pass in. So we could do Tesla and then 2024 like that. And so I'll comment all this out. And now let's run this and see what we get. Okay, so we get Tesla Model 3 2024. This is before we change it to the year of 2012 down here. And then it's speeding up and slowing down. We already added that as well. So we can see that whatever information we pass into the primary constructor when creating an object of the class, it's actually used to set the properties of the class, or the object rather. So if you were to change this to something like Bob, and then model 2, and then like 1999, now if we run this, the car should be instantiated with those values instead. So there we go. We get Bob Model 2 1999 and then Bob Model 2 2012, because that's what we changed it to. So as you can see, all this is a way to force you to pass in values in creating an object. It's a way of making it so that you cannot create a car without having this information. I think intuitively makes sense, right? If a make, a model, and a year is what makes a car, you probably don't want to be able to create an instance of a car without that information already passed in, right? So as you're creating an instance of car, you want to already know ahead of time what that is. And so if you notice here, we still have the speed property as part of the class body, not inside of the primary constructor. This is because we are making it so that the speed does not need to be passed in when you create a new car. This can be changed later on because it's a var, right? However, whatever properties are listed in the primary constructor, even though they're not in the class body, they are still properties. It's just that they have to be passed in, okay? So hopefully that is clear. Another thing that you'll notice is that with this primary constructor that we have, we're using var for the different properties that we're specifying, and this is the same thing as before. If you're using var, this makes it a mutable property, meaning that it can be changed, just like a variable. But if you make it val, this means that once you pass in that initial make, for example, if we make it val make, once you pass in that initial make, it cannot be changed. It's now a read-only property, okay? So let me give you an example. So if we go back to main, we're going to create this car, Bob Model 2 1999, but we know that make is going to be val, right? A read-only property. So if we were to do something like Tesla car.make, we cannot change it to anything else. This is going to give us an exception because val cannot be reassigned. We want to, we could change it to var. So now if we go back here, it automatically changes it to var, which makes it a mutable property. So that just goes to show you that just like a regular class body property where you specify it outside of a constructor, they can be var or they can be val, okay? Depends on what you're trying to do. Another thing about the properties that you specify within a constructor is that you can use default parameters if you want to, just like before. So if you want to, you can make the default make, Tesla, like we had it before when it was in the class body. And then we can make it val if we want to. And then we could do val model. It could be var, but we could do val model. And the model could be model 3, or we'll do model X. And then the year, if you want to, we could specify as something like 2024, right? Or 23, okay? And we'll change this one to val as well. So now this has the effect of making it so that when we instantiate an object of the car class, we no longer have to pass in a make and a model near just because there's defaults now. It's the exact same thing as with functions. If you have a default parameter for a function, you don't have to specify, you don't have to pass an argument for that parameter if there's a default, okay? If we go back here, we can see that, well, first it's complaining just because these are val, so we cannot reassign them. So we'll get rid of these. If we also get rid of this information, it's not going to complain because there's default values. So if we do Control P, you can see it tells you what the defaults are. So Tesla Model X 2023. So if we run this, that's what we should get when we print info. There we go. So we get Tesla Model X 2023. So every class needs a primary constructor, unless you're just going to use like the default one, which means you have nothing. So this class has a primary constructor, but the cool thing is that you can also have secondary constructors. So let me just go ahead and create a new class here to demonstrate to you how that works. So we're going to make a new Kotlin class called rectangle. So now, just like before, we're going to sort of define or think about what makes a rectangle a rectangle. So one thing that we could do is something like a width and a height. So we could do val width, which is an integer, and then val height, which is another integer. And so now we have a primary constructor that makes it so that every time we create an object of rectangle, we have to pass in a width and we have to pass in a height. However, if we have something called a secondary constructor, this is basically an alternate way to instantiate a class, okay? So currently with the primary constructor, we have to do it this way where we pass in the width and the height. But if we have a secondary constructor, as long as we delegate to that primary constructor within the secondary constructor, we can pass in different information to create the object. So that is probably a little confusing, just explaining it out loud like that. So let me just show you what I mean and it'll make more sense, okay? So to create a primary constructor, you can do constructor. And to this, we want to define what information we want to pass into the secondary constructor. Same exact thing with the primary. So for this one, we could accept something different like a size, which is an int, which we can now use to delegate towards the primary constructor using the this keyword. And now we just do Control P, and it's accepting a width and a height, right? So we just do size and size. And we're going to add on to this by adding a print message saying secondary. Okay, so let me try to explain what this is actually doing. So now this gives us the option of whenever we would create an object of the type rectangle, we could call this primary constructor if we want to by passing in a width and a height, but we also have another option, which is to pass in a size. And what this secondary constructor is going to do is use this size to pass in the width and the height for you. So it's literally just an alternate way of creating an object. As long as you're still, at the end of the day, calling that primary constructor by invoking it like this, you're good to go. So as an example, if you want to create a rectangle that has a different width and a different height, meaning like two different numbers, like, I don't know, 10 and 12, you could use the primary constructor. But if you want to create a rectangle that has the same height and same width, you could use the secondary constructor and just pass in one number to save on like, a little bit of code. So this will automatically call that primary constructor behind the scenes and set that width and height for you. Because these are still, at the end of the day, required for every instance of a rectangle. These are still the class properties that will not change. You will notice, though, that whenever we define our secondary constructor for size, there is no val or var because this is not a class property. This is just, you can think of it as kind of like a function where you just pass in a parameter, and this parameter will be used to pass into the actual primary constructor, which does define our class properties, okay? Let me give an example of how you can actually use this, and it might make even more sense, okay? So we'll go back to main here, and what we're gonna do is create a new instance of our rectangle class. So we're gonna do val rectangle1 is equal to rectangle. So now when you do Control P inside of this, when you're creating the object, you can see that you have two options. Now you have a size option, and then you have a width and a height option. And that's the whole idea behind having primary and secondary constructors. It gives you multiple options to create an object of the same type of, rectangle. So we could start with the primary constructor option. We'll do like, I don't know, 67 and 3. That's really random. And then we could have a square, which is defined by creating a rectangle and then just pass in one number, so 10. And so now, as we know, when we pass in only one number, it uses the secondary constructor. Hold Control, click, and we can see that the secondary constructor is using the size to pass in the width and the height. They're both going to be the same. And then it should print this message. So let's just go ahead and run this and see what happens. There we go. So we get secondary constructor created a square of size 10. This is because, again, our secondary constructor prints that message after you call it. So that's actually another benefit of having secondary constructors. You could have logic that is run whenever you create an object of the class type. For the primary constructor, you're only defining the class properties or just what's required to be passed in whenever you're creating an object of this class. But for the secondary constructor, you could have it technically accept anything, such as a size or just any information you want, just like a function. And then that information can be used in different ways, however you want to delegate to that primary constructor. But then you could also have that other logic where you could run whatever code you want. So here we're just printing a message, but I want you to imagine the different things you can do. Just whenever you create an object of a class, you may want to run some piece of code, and that can be done in the secondary constructor, okay? So I really hope this is all making sense so far. Just like before, we could still have regular class properties in the body, like, I don't know, var, I can't think of anything, like peanut. If we could do peanut, and that's the default value for peanut. And so now every time we create a rectangle, it's going to have this property here, but since it's not in either of the constructors, it's not required to create a object of this class, okay? You could also have your class function, so function area, which returns an int, and we could do return width times height. And this makes sense because we know every rectangle is going to have a width and a height, so we can also have a function area that returns the width and the height multiplied together, which gives you the area of a rectangle. You could also have a secondary constructor that actually accepts nothing. And again, it doesn't matter what it accepts. You could have nothing, you could have as many things as you want, as long as it delegates to that primary constructor. So you could do like 1 and 1, for example. So this would be a constructor that accepts nothing, and this basically just gives you a 1 by 1 square, or I don't know, a pixel to use as your object. And you could have some secondary logic inside of here, like print a message. You could say another secondary constructor. If you want to, you could create a third object, pixel is equal to rectangle, and just literally pass in nothing. And now when we run this, we get another secondary constructor created a 1 by 1 square. So hopefully that makes sense. If you do Control P, we can see that now we have 3 options for the primary constructor and then the 2 secondary constructors. One thing that's cool though is that you can actually have a secondary constructor delegate to another secondary constructor, which then delegates to the primary constructor. So as an example here, if we do Control P inside of this, we can see that we have 2 options. We have the primary, which is the bottom option, and then the secondary right here, the second option, or the top option, okay? So for this, we could just do 1, which as we know, will invoke this, the size, and then the size will be used to invoke the primary constructor by passing in the width and the height. So even though we did not directly call the primary constructor for this secondary constructor here using this, we are indirectly calling it because we know that this one does call it. So in a roundabout way, we are still calling the primary constructor by calling a different secondary constructor that does call it. I really hope that this is not too confusing for you guys. I recommend that you pause the video and just play around with it and just make sure you take your time to understand it, okay? So let me just show you guys another example of using secondary constructors when creating a person class. A very similar example that we did last time, I believe. So this person class has a primary constructor that accepts a first name, a last name, and an age. So not only will these be the class properties, but also these are required to create the object, right? But we've also defined a secondary constructor to create an alternate way of creating that object. So this one accepts a full name, which is a string, and this will automatically take the full name, split it into the first name and the last name, and pass it into the primary constructor. So that's what this is doing. So it's just putting on multiple lines here. So the opening, closing parentheses are right here. And so we can see that first we're defining the first name. It's using a named argument. You don't have to have that if you don't want to. It's just to make it a little bit more clear what's happening. So you can see if you do Control P, it's telling you which one is selected based on where you are. But yeah, you can have these to make it more clear. So what it's doing here is it's taking the full name string and using the split function to split it based on the spaces in the full name that you pass in. So for example, if you do Cody space Simpson, it's going to split that string based on the space by splitting it into 2 things, Cody and Simpson. So now this is going to access the first element of the list that's returned from this function when it splits it. So that would be the first name, right? And then for the last name, it's going to do essentially the same thing. A little bit differently though. It's still going to split it based on the spaces, right? But then it's going to do get or else index 1, which basically means that it's going to get that second element if it exists. If it does not exist, you're going to have a default value of just an empty string. That way a exception cannot happen because you're not trying to access an index that does not exist. This is useful because sometimes maybe you can imagine that people may pass in their full name as just one name, like Cody instead of Cody Simpson. So if they do that, this will handle that possibility. It's a little complex just to look at it for the first time, but that's what it does, okay? But then also we have age as one of the requirements for our primary constructor. But if you look closely, we're not actually passing in here because age has a default value of 0. So we don't have to actually pass it in when we're delegating towards it. So if we want to, though, we could do age is equal to 23 or, whatever, right? It's up to you. And then we also have our introduce yourself function, which prints out, hi, I am Cody Simpson, and I am, whatever years old, okay? So here's an example of how we can actually use this. So we're creating 3 different people based on the different options that we have. So the first option is just going to use our primary constructor, so first name, last name, and age. So boom, boom, boom. And then the second option is going to use our primary constructor again, but we're only passing in two options because age is optional, so it's going to use the default of 0. But then for the third option, we're utilizing our secondary constructor, which accepts a full name string, which will then behind the scenes split it into two different elements, which are passed into our primary constructor as the first name and last name. Okay, so if we run this now, there we go. So hi, I'm John Doe and I'm 25. Hi, I'm Jane Smith and I'm 0. Hi, I'm Alice Johnson and I'm 0. So it's able to split up the full names successfully and print it out in the introduce yourself function. So that is awesome. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully you guys now understand what primary and secondary constructors are and how they can be used within Kotlin classes. Again, just as a little recap, primary constructors are used to make it so that you have to pass information in whenever you're creating an object of a class. But then secondary constructors are an alternate way to do that, where you can pass, whatever you specify and execute whatever logic you want inside those constructors, as long as those secondary constructors delegate to the primary constructor in some way. The overall benefit, though, is that now we don't have to hard code default values for our class properties. We can specify them in the primary constructor and then pass the values in dynamically. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and peace. So that's it for this video, everybody. I really hope you learned something new. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to also check the description below for important links to code and other resources, but also really important, join our Discord. We have a big community of over 5,000 programmers, and it's a place where you can find new friends or get help on any code that you're stuck on. If you want to support what I do on this channel, please consider hitting the join button below, and this will allow you to support my channel for as low as $1 a month, but there are different tiers to choose from if you want to. For anyone that becomes a member on my channel, you get a special rank on my Discord server, early access to new videos, and you can just see yourself on the screen right now. So if that sounds cool to you, feel free to join. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you can't, that's okay too. I really just appreciate you watching the video anyway. Thank you so much. And that's it. Peace.